Part 129. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1281. Guancheng needed to continue catching cicada turtles and had to go home to get a flashlight. When he got home, Jojo was playing with Zhuang, while Xiong held his nose and sniffed everywhere. Stinky, stinky. Jojo's face suddenly turned red as a tomato. When she arrived, she had gone to the river to brush the soles of her shoes with plucked grass, but there was still a bit of a smell. I didn't mean it. Jojo was at a loss. Is it really smelly? Xiong nodded heavily. Stinky. Comrade Jojo, don't listen to his nonsense, children know nothing, Guancheng said as he stepped into the main room and looked around a few times. Where is my aunt? Why are you the only one watching in the room? Zhuang and Xiong. Bear is too naughty and difficult to control. Jojo swallowed and whispered, Fu Bao and Dun Dun are going to bed. Comrade Kingxiu came into the room to put them to sleep, so he asked me to help take care of the two babies. Just a few minutes later, Guancheng came back, moving very quickly. Guancheng nodded and hugged Xiong. My sister and brother are both asleep, why don't you sleep? Xiong's answer was to slap his face with his little hands and giggle. At this time, Feng Kingxiu came out from the east room and said, What happened to you? Jojo came back with your flashlight. As soon as he said a few words, Fu Bao and Dun Dun fell asleep noisily, and I didn't have time to ask. Jojo was about to answer, but Guancheng beat him to it. It's okay. I just went out to touch the cicada and saw her walking around alone. It was so dark and no one was accompanying her. It was too unsafe, so I lent her the flashlight and asked her to find her aunt. After Jojo heard this, he looked at him gratefully. That's it, it should be, Akin, you did the right thing. Although Feng Kingxiu knew that it must not be that simple, she did not get to the bottom of it, and gave the parties the greatest respect. She only said to Jojo, even during the day, come on, don't go out alone when it's dark. You used to accompany Zhenghui, why doesn't she accompany you when you go out? When he mentioned this matter, Jojo's face became a little ugly, and he whispered, I came out with Wang Huan and wanted to touch some golden cicadas to eat as meat. The flashlight was at her place, but she disappeared when I turned around. Wang Huan? Feng Kingxiu and Guancheng thought about it for a while. They seemed to be educated youths from the capital. They had a round face. Well, they impressed me. Guancheng said sternly, I'm going to find Tianzi and Au and pick up some cicadas. When we come back, let Tianzi and Au take care of the child. My aunt and I will send you back to the educated youth point. When we get back, we will tell you that you can't find it. Wang Huan came directly to my house to find my aunt. Our house is relatively close to the woods, so no one will be suspicious. Thank you. Jojo's eyes became moist. But before they could send Jojo back, they heard bursts of noise outside. Feng Kingxiu held Jojo down and walked out. She vaguely saw a group of people gradually approaching, calling Jojo's name. When they arrived at their door, Wang Dachun stopped and said, Kingxiu, have you seen Jojo? I don't know where this girl has gone. What's going on? Feng Kingxiu asked calmly. It's all my fault, Wang Huan cried. Jojo and I went out to touch the golden cicada, but as soon as we turned around, Jojo disappeared. I shouted in the woods and in the field, and even after calling several educated youths, we were nowhere to be found. After finding her, I was worried that something might happen to her, so I had to report it to the team leader and mobilize everyone to find her. I have stayed up late these days and have a headache. I only slept for 3 or 4 hours and I have no clue about coding. To save my life, this is the update for today. I will update more when I recover. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1282. Before Wang Huan could finish her words, Zheng Huiwei yelled angrily, "What's the use of saying this now? You've lost Jojo. What's the use of saying this? Not letting people go out alone means going in and out together. Pay attention to each other's existence, don't let outsiders take advantage of it, and don't let others talk about it. If you talk to her all the time, how can you lose her? I didn't mean it. I just turned around and touched a few golden cicadas. When I turned around, I couldn't see Jojo anymore." Wang Huan's round face was full of tears, and he looked embarrassed and regretful. "Who knows if you did it on purpose? Otherwise, why would Jojo's flashlight be in your hand?" Zheng Huiwei snorted. Wang Huan tightened the old flashlight in his hand and said for himself, "How could I deliberately lose Jojo? We all come from all over the world and have come together for a common revolutionary goal. Then why don't you say the next thing? We in this team must care about and love each other." Liao Adang didn't like Zheng Huiwei's personality of always being in the limelight, and was even more wary of her relationship with her brother in the big courtyard in the capital, as well as her recent interactions with the Lu family. He interrupted her directly and said politely, okay, everything is done. Why are you still quarreling here if you don't find someone quickly? We would have found Jojo long ago if we had time to quarrel." Zheng Huiwei said unhappily, "It's obviously her fault. Jojo is the youngest and so weak. He has never been out alone. If there is anything wrong, I don't know if you can touch your own conscience," still pointing with the sword. Wang Huan. After listening to Zheng Huiwei's words, Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but look at her with admiration. Although she is not a particularly good girl, she is not a particularly bad girl either, she is just more realistic. Human nature is probably the most complex thing in the world. No one is perfect or unforgivable. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. In the end, one needs to distinguish between good and evil based on character. Wang Dachun was troubled by these girls and was worried that they would continue to argue and waste time. He said directly to Feng Qingxiu, "I won't tell you anymore. I have to find that little girl Jojo quickly. If something really happened to the educated youth who went to the countryside to jump in the queue, their Wanglu brigade would be laughing at them." Feng Qingxiu said hurriedly, "Cousin, you don't have to look for me." "What do you mean?" Wang Dachun's eyes lit up. Does his cousin know Jojo's whereabouts? Zheng Huiwei also looked at Feng Qingxiu expectantly. "Comrade Qingxiu, do you know where Jojo is?" Under the night, under the moonlight, starlight, and flashlight lights, Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly under the spotlight and replied, "My home is relatively close to the woods. Jojo and Wang Huan came to me immediately after they got separated. My eldest child went out to touch a cicada, and the younger one was sleeping. I couldn't send her back, so I was delayed." Wang Dachun breathed a sigh of relief, and Zheng Huiwei was overjoyed. Only a hint of disappointment flashed in Wang Huan's heart, and it passed through his eyes without leaving any trace. He shouted, great, Jojo is fine, really. Very good." Feng Qingxiu had a panoramic view, turned around and shouted inside, "Jojo, we are here to find you." After Guancheng left, the babies all fell asleep. Jojo also followed Feng Qingxiu to the courtyard after he came out. At this time, he slowly appeared in front of everyone and said timidly, "Am I in trouble? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1283. Seeing Jojo intact, Zheng Huiwei happily grabbed her hand, and her frown finally relaxed. "Where have you been? If you get lost, don't you know how to go back to the educated youth spot? Why are you holding the flashlight to others instead of yourself? The words of concern turned into complaints, but Jojo felt warm in his heart when he heard it, and his watery eyes were filled with the starlight in the sky. I know I was wrong, Hui, I won't be like this again, don't be angry. I was afraid something would happen on the road, so I went to see Comrade King Xiu. Comrade King Xiu was very nice and said he would send me back. Liao Adane frowned and said, if you find the person, go back. Wang Dachun also told the young men and women in the village who were looking for someone to disperse, and turned to Jojo and said, I know your food is not very good, and I want to touch some cicada turtles for teething ceremony, but you must pay attention to your own safety and don't go blindly into the woods. If you burrow into the grass, be careful if there are bugs biting your legs. In addition, there is no guarantee for two people. From now on, we should only go out with two people during the day and at least 3 or 4 people together at night. Liao Adane hurriedly said, Captain Wang, don't worry, I will educate them well. After Wang Dachun turned around and left, Liao Adane said to Jojo, let's all go back. Don't worry about eating that little food. I'm sorry for making you worry. I can't find Wang Huan. I'm very scared. I'm scared to death, and I'm afraid of being bitten by a snake. Jojo's tears came easily, and he cried like a pear blossom in the rain. He was so pitiful in the wind. King Xiu seems to be a born drama queen. I accidentally stepped on cow dung on the way to find Comrade King Xiu. I wonder if it will infect everyone when I go back. Zheng Huiwei felt so distressed that she hugged her and said, don't cry anymore, don't cry anymore. You will learn a lesson. Don't go out casually with people you don't have a good relationship with. You won't even know if you are being cheated. His posture and tone were like coaxing a child. Jojo was sobbing in her arms, his shoulders shrugging, and his thin back was really pitiful. Chen Yuan and the 2 male comrades who came out to look for her said in unison, stop talking, comrades who love the party, Comrade Jojo dare not go home alone, he must be frightened. Seeing the speaker, Wang Huan, who was hiding in the darkness, there was a hint of gloom in his eyes. On the way back, Wang Huan kept apologizing to Jojo. It was an apology, but it was a bit preemptive. Didn't I tell you not to wander around? Why can't I find you when I turn around? Jojo shook his body and leaned closer to Zheng Huiwei. Comrade Wang Huan, Chen Yuan frowned and shouted, you dragged Comrade Jojo out by yourself and lost her again. What do you mean by saying this now? Are you afraid that what happened today is not enough to make people worry? Are you kidding me? Thanks to Comrade King Xiu's care, Comrade Jojo is safe and sound, so I won't mention it again. You all protect her, I won't say anything. Wang Huan bit his lower lip and closed his mouth. Hearing such words, Jojo suddenly raised his eyes to look at Wang Huan, and then withdrew his gaze. If she is still not sure that Wang Huan deliberately framed her, then she is the biggest fool in the world. Why? What is the reason for setting yourself up? When Jojo accidentally saw the admiration in Wang Huan's eyes looking at Chen Yuan and her always wanting to get close to Chen Yuan to talk, Jojo suddenly realized. I see. I see. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1284. Jojo understood that Wang Huan admired Chen Yuan, so he became hostile to him. The youngest among the male-educated youths is Xin Yushan. It was only when Wang Zhenkuo asked everyone about their true age that everyone found out that they usually take good care of him, while the youngest among the female-educated youths is Jojo. She is 1 year younger than the age recorded in her household registration, and is only 15 this year. A 15-year-old girl, delicate, quiet, well-behaved, and serious, she left a great impression on everyone. The most popular one is Zheng Huiwei. But because Zheng Huiwei is more powerful, the person who receives the most care is Jojo. Who wouldn't want to take more care of her after seeing her like that? It really inspires everyone's desire for protection. Jojo has always been grateful to the brothers and sisters who took care of him and the aunts and ladies of the Wanglu Brigade. After being unable to convince Zheng Huiwei of using marriage to change her destiny, she was still willing to accompany Zheng Huiwei to the Lu family. Chen Yuan is the general person in charge of the educated youth point. In everyone's eyes, he is very responsible. Everyone respects him and basically obeys his instructions. When he arranges work for Jojo, he is more relaxed and considerate. In the eyes of innocent people, it is the way a big brother treats his little sister and the person in charge takes care of his subordinates, but it is different in the eyes of people with ulterior motives. Wang Huan liked Chen Yuan and wanted to frame him because of Chen Yuan's special care for him. Jojo finally determined that everything he encountered today was due to this reason. He secretly hated himself for being negligent and not aware of Wang Huan's thoughts. If she hadn't learned some boxing and kicking skills from Grandpa Hong since she was a child, she would have been brutally murdered today. During the 2 months she was in the Wanglu Brigade, she heard someone say that the person she beat was a gangster. Jojo lowered his head and let Zheng Huiwei hold hands and walk at the end. Zheng Huiwei kept chattering all the way, asking her to pay more attention to her words. In the end, Wang Huan became angry and couldn't help but quarreled with Zheng Huiwei. What does it have to do with you? Why are you criticizing me here? Only those with a guilty conscience will think others are insinuating. In terms of knowledge, Zheng Huiwei, who has a high school education, is not bad at all. Before Liao Adain could speak, Jojo pulled Zheng Huiwei's hand and said with tears in his eyes, "Huiwei, don't quarrel with others because of me. It's my own uselessness that makes everyone worry about me." As soon as these words came out, Chen Yuan frowned. "Comrade Wang Huan, it turns out that you lost Comrade Jojo and ran back. Are you still reasonable? I asked the lesbians who live with you. It seems that not long after you went out, you ran back in a panic. Comrade Jojo is gone. Comrade Jojo has never cared about you. The flashlight is still in your hand. What else do you want?" Comrade Zheng Huiwei gave Comrade Jojo a few words. "I think it makes sense. You should be careful and don't rip out your heart and lungs foolishly." Wang Huan suddenly turned around and looked at Chen Yuan. In the darkness, no one could see her face clearly, but they could hear her voice, which seemed to have an incredible tone. "Are you mean to me? Are you mean to me because of Jojo?" Chen Yuan said solemnly, "What I said is reasonable, not evil. I will reiterate to you that this is the countryside, this is Wanglu Brigade, and it is a vast sky. We are here to be re-educated by poor and lower middle peasants. My duty is to live in harmony with the working people, learn to work with them, exchange sweat for food rations, experience the hard work of farmers, and cherish the commercial food I eat." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1285. When the words fell, people had returned to the point of educated youth. Before entering the educated youth home where young men lived, Chen Yuan turned around and looked at the group of male and female educated youths following him, and then said, "We are very lucky. We jumped into the Wanglu Brigade. You must all feel lucky, because Wanglu, the fathers and captains of the building brigade, were very kind. They did not withhold the letters or packages sent to us by our family members, nor deliberately deducted our work points. They arranged the food and housing issues properly, and even divided the front and back of the house. We are taught how to grow vegetables on the private plot in the corner. Isn't this what it should be?" Wang Huan said. Liao Adang and other educated youths all looked at Chen Yuan with sharp eyes and did not understand what he meant by what he said. Zheng Huiwei sneered at Wang Huan's words. "Should you? Then you should investigate the lives of educated youths who jumped in other brigades before saying this. Jojo, why are you standing there? Go back to the house and take a shower and sleep. I've boiled the water in the pot." "Oh," Jojo nodded and followed her through the door. 2 minutes later, The educated youth who had not dispersed because Liao Adane had something to tell Chen Yuan heard Zheng Hui's scolding voice coming from the female educated youth courtyard, "Which damn bastard used the bath water I boiled?" No one answered, so Zheng Hui scolded even more fiercely, "You deserve to be struck by lightning. This is the inconvenience of collective life. Either you used my water, or she used my soap and cream, or she cooked one less meal than me, or when making a big pot of rice, you gave me 2 less rations than others. 2. Either you took one more spoonful of rice than me, or everyone else dug wild vegetables and came back to cook, but you didn't go." All kinds of trivial things happened repeatedly in the educated youth spots, and they became more and more serious. When Feng Qingxiu invited several uncles, concubines, and aunts to have soup at home, she heard that the female educated youths had finally reached a point of quarrel with each other, and decided to start separate groups. Because of limited conditions, they took turns using the stoves in the educated youth courtyard. "Today you cook first, and she will cook first tomorrow. Firewood, water, rations, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, etc. are all for everyone." It was a hot day today, so Feng Qingxiu cooked haggis soup at home. These haggis bones were hard to come by. She asked Zhang Yuejin to leave a sheep head, half a skeleton, and a pair of sheep bones in advance. It cost a lot of money, but luckily no tickets were needed. In summer, everyone is greedy for coolness. They like to drink cold water and take cold baths. The cold air enters the body, which is harmful rather than helpful. Mutton is hot in nature and can drive away cold. Therefore, some of the cooked haggis soup was sent to the cowshed and the teacher. Eat radish in winter and ginger in summer. You don't need a doctor's prescription. In fact, just drink some ginger soup. Who doesn't grow some ginger? It's not like you stew a big pot of haggis soup. He looked at the half-filled bowl. The soup was half a bowl of haggis, and Miao Fengqin felt heartbroken. How about saving this money and buying some nutritional supplements for Zhuang Zhuang? Look how thin he is. Hearing her mention him, Zhuang Zhuang, who was sitting in his mother's arms, raised his jade-white face and asked, "Huh?" Drool dripped down and landed on the bib pocket. Feng Qingxiu fed Zhuang Zhuang a mouthful of crucian carp soup and said with a smile, "I think everyone has been tired for a whole summer and should take supplements. Zhuang Zhuang is weak and cannot take supplements when he is weak. Those nutritional supplements may not be useful for him. He needs to take supplements slowly. Come on." Wang Zhenqiu saw him enjoying the fish soup. "Tomorrow when the reservoir releases water, some fish that have escaped the net will surely come out and flow into the rivers and ditches. Let a few young men in Guancheng go catch fish with fish baskets and spring. This year there is too much rain, so all the villagers go out to catch fish, and whoever catches it gets it. Anyway, the fish flows to other villages, which makes it easier for outsiders. I stayed up for several days in a row and slept for less than 10 hours in total. My eyes were red and my brain hurt. I was drowsy and my typing was poor. So I went to bed early and spent the rest of the day typing. There is still no discount for 10,000 words. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1286. As soon as they heard that everyone was allowed to catch fish in the river, everyone was very enthusiastic. It's not a year or a festival, even if you catch a basin of plain water and pickle salted fish, it will be enough for a whole summer. Not every family is like the Lu Zhang family and Wang Zhenqiu, who took advantage of Zhang Yuejin's convenience to buy some free meat and bones from time to make tooth sacrifices. Most families can only eat a few mouthfuls of meat during the holidays. So, before the heavy rain stopped, men, women and children all set out. The rivers, ditches, canals and beaches are overcrowded. Guancheng was smarter, so he led Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu to the upper reaches of the river to get into the water. It was closest to the gate of the reservoir, but the water flow was also relatively turbulent. Come early, there is no one else. Zibao, Fuebao, and the twins all liked to watch the fun. The older one was better, so he ran to the river bank with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. The little one was babbling for a long time and couldn't explain clearly. The fourth elder and Father Lu in the house helped take care of it, and by the way, they took Ding Halen with them, and followed Zibao, calling him brother. Ding Halen looked only 6 or 7 years old. In fact, he was 2 months older than Zibao and was born in March. May is Zibao's 7th birthday. When eating longevity noodles, Ding Qiaobang suddenly realized that his grandson was white. I have called Zibao my brother for several months. The old man was wearing a raincoat and holding an umbrella for his child. He stood on the bank and looked into the river. The river swelled to waist deep. The 3 Guancheng brothers carried large rocks in the rushing river and blocked them in the river. They put a nylon net with rattan circles in the middle gap. Feng Qingxiu used nylon ropes to weave it. The mesh was not big. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu pressed one side of the rattan circle to prevent the nylon net from being washed away by the water. It didn't take long for the 2 brothers to work together to lift the net, and a bunch of lively fish were brought ashore, which made a group of children clap their hands and shouted with joy. Fish! Fish! Xiong Xiong talked a lot, pointing at the fish in the net and shouting, and Dun Dun also shouted. Fu Bao held his little face in his hands and said, "There are so many fish. I want to eat the fish meatballs made by my mother." Several children immediately gathered around a bucket and looked at the fish that was put in, and their smiling faces bloomed like flowers. Carp, crucian carp, grasshoppers, whitewater fish, snakehead fish, catfish, all big and small filled the 3 wooden buckets they brought. The brothers quickly closed the net, carried the buckets home, and let the river water roll up the big and small ones. Small fish walked down through the gap in the rocks. They couldn't be greedy and had to leave some for the downstream, so when they closed the net in the middle, they didn't block the gap in the rocks. When leaving, Guancheng was about to pick up the rocks, but Zibao shook his head violently. "Don't pick it up, don't pick it up." "Why?" Guancheng asked. Zibao didn't say, "Just don't peel it off, just don't peel it off." It was not a big deal, so Guancheng and others did not remove the stones on both sides. After returning home, the brothers sorted the fish into buckets and basins according to species. The largest black fish weighed more than 4 kilograms, and the smallest whitewater fish was less than the size of a finger, and most of them were alive and kicking. Except for the head and spine, blackfish and catfish have no spines in their meat, and the meat is delicious. When cooking for children, adults don't worry about them getting stuck in the fish bones. Whitewater meals and small crucian carp are more troublesome to handle, so Feng Qingxiu just took 2 the big carp and 3 relatively large idiots were separated and asked Guancheng to deliver snacks to the old people who were sent to the decentralization. The blackfish, catfish, and the remaining live fish were kept in water tanks and buckets. The dead fish and whitewater meals process first. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1287. Zibao didn't have enough fun, so he asked Guan Yu to go there. Among these brothers, Guan Yu was the most playful. So, while Guancheng, Lu Tianzi, and Feng Qingxiu were dealing with small and dead fish, the 2 brothers saw that the rain outside had stopped. They secretly slipped out with a fishing net and a bucket. Seeing this, Father Lu hurriedly followed. Although Guan Yu is already a 16-year-old boy, Father Lu knows how attentive his daughter-in-law is to her children. As soon as the 3 men lowered the net, a big fish crashed into the net. Father Lu and Guan Yu almost couldn't hold it down and hurriedly carried it to the shore. "Good guy," Guan Yu blurted out, having a new understanding of Zibao's luck. When they got to the shore, the big fish ran rampant in the net and broke a hole in the nylon net. However, it was huge, so it did not come out. It lay horizontally on the ground. Guan Yu compared it and found that the length was a little more than 1 meter. It's a big carp, fat and lively. Guan Yu was now shirtless, so he picked it up and weighed it, at least 50 or 60 pounds. Wow! What a big fish, Zibao beamed and wanted to rush up and hug him. Zibao, you are a great hero. I asked my aunt to stew the fish at noon and pick out the best piece of meat for you, Guan Yu said as he collected some small fish in the net. The previously larger carp weighed 1 or 2 kilograms. It seems so small at the moment. Zibao shouted, I eat fish eyes, big fish eyes. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was around, the three of them went home quickly. Zibao was empty-handed, and Father Lu was carrying a bucket and a fishing net. As for the big carp, Guan Yu knocked him to death and carried him back. It's hot in the summer, and if you don't put food away, you can eat dead fish in your mouth today. This big fish attracted everyone's attention. When Ryu, Jinruoku, and others came to watch the excitement. Brother, you are so awesome. I like you the most, Fu Bao circled around the big carp. Mom, I want to eat fish meatballs. Can you make fish meatballs for me? Zibao straightened his chest. He didn't put on a shirt either, revealing his delicate skin. If I hadn't gone out with my grandfather and brother Au, this big fish would have belonged to someone else. He held his head high, ready to accept everyone's praise. He was a great contributor. Feng Qingxiu hit him on the head. The river is fast and you are a child. You are not allowed to go to the river without an adult following you. What summer doesn't happen a few times when a child loses his footing and drowns while swimming? Fortunately, he was rescued and was able to save his life. Unfortunately, he drowned on the spot, leaving only the endless grief of his family. Zibao touched his newly grown short hair and said, I know, Mom, I'm very obedient. You don't have to know, you have to remember, Feng Qingxiu never tires of admonishing her children when it comes to their safety. Guancheng directly disemboweled the big carp in the yard, washed it, took it to the kitchen chopping board and chopped it into large pieces. He even split the fish head into 2 halves. Then he stuck out his head and said to Feng Qingxiu, Auntie, how about stewing fish with pancakes at noon? I think everyone likes it. Such a big fish can't be stewed in one pot, so just 1/3 is enough. Feng Qingxiu walked into the kitchen and prepared to make noodles. The fish belly is full of big thorns, which is easier to handle. Leave some for me to make meatballs or stuffing to make dumplings and wontons. Then ask Au to send some to the back for lunch, eat it stewed. It's hot and it's easy to break if left unused. The 4 elders in the cowshed all ate with them, so there was no need to deliver them separately. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1288. Lu Tianzi took the fish from the basin and sent it to Uncle Su. Feng Qingxiu made peace with the noodles, stretched out his head and gave Guan Yu another order, stop praising Zibao, you two go to the fields, pinch some tender sweet potato leaves, just a little. She suddenly wanted to eat sweet potato leaf pancakes. Tender sweet potato leaves are chopped into pieces, mixed with noodles, and stuck to the inner wall of the iron pot where the fish is stewed. She only posted 5 pancakes mixed with sweet potato leaves, and the rest were pure 2-fold noodles, flour mixed with cornmeal, which were very attractive and yellow. The pancakes decorated with green sweet potato leaves were even more beautiful, with yellow and green alternately. The stewed fish was not put in chili peppers before it came out of the pot. I served some chili peppers to the children first, and then added some chili pepper noodles and simmered it for a while. The fish meatballs and fish wontons made by Feng Qingxiu were also very popular with the children. Dun Dun and Xiong ate a dozen small wontons in one go and felt their round bellies and said they were full. Fu Bao ate a few meatballs. Following Zibao, We ate some stewed fish without pepper and a few bites of pancakes with sweet potato leaves. Only Zhuang was unwilling to eat less than half a bowl of fish paste. He had a weak stomach, so Feng Qingxiu didn't force him and coaxed him to take a few sips of the crucian carp soup stewed alone. Zhuang was able to walk a few steps by himself, and he walked around the room, not forgetting to hold onto a chair or a bench to maintain his balance. The red-bottomed white floral shirt and trousers worn by Zibao when he was a child looked even more flattering on him. His skin is like snow and his features are like picturesque. There was an old man taking care of the children in the house, while Feng Qingxiu continued to handle whitewater meals and small crucian carp in the yard and guancheng. While he was busy, someone knocked on the door hard. Zioxiu. Zioxiu. Hearing the caller's urgent tone, Feng Qingxiu opened the door before she could wash her hands. Second sister-in-law. What's the matter? The person who came was Wang Haiping, the wife of my uncle's second cousin Wang Daxia. Her face was covered with runny nose and tears. She may have been running too fast and was too tired. She collapsed at the door and gasped, "Hurry, hurry, hurry. Go rescue someone." Xiao Guang fell into the water. Where? Feng Qingxiu was shocked. Upstream, at the gate, under the gate. Feng Qingxiu walked away without forgetting to ask Guancheng to get the first aid kit. She didn't even bother to go with Wang Haiping. The road was muddy, the wind was light, and the snow was falling. I ran fast and fast, splashing mud all over my body. The results of many years of training were clearly revealed at this time. From a distance, I could see many people gathered around the river near the gate. "Get out of the way, get out of the way," Feng Qingxiu said. Everyone separated to make way for her. Wang Xiaoguang is Wang Daxia's youngest son. He is only 6.5 years old this year. He is usually very naughty. He goes up trees to touch bird eggs and goes down to the river to catch fish. You can see him every time. He is currently lying motionless on Wang Dachun's lap. The water in his stomach has been controlled, but there is no reaction. Wang Dachun's face was sweating anxiously. Breathing stopped, heartbeat stopped, the situation was very critical. Feng Qingxiu stepped forward to take over and started first aid. After checking that there was no sludge, water, or other substances in his mouth and nose, he immediately laid him flat on the ground and performed cardiac resuscitation and artificial respiration repeatedly. While everyone was waiting anxiously, they finally saw Wang Xiaoguang's chest rising and falling slightly. The first thing this kid said when he woke up was, "It's so fishy." Really fishy? At this moment, Wang Dachun, who was closest to the couple, noticed that his cousin's hands emanated a fishy smell, as if there were blood stains on his hands from cleaning up the fish, and he immediately knew that she should deal with the fish at home before she came. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1289. You brat, your cousin saved your life, and you just said this. If it weren't for the fact that the boy's breath was weak and his face was still ugly after he woke up, Wang Dachun would have wanted to slap him in the face. Damn it, the river is so deep, run here. Wang Haiping rolled and crawled until she arrived at the site of her son's accident. She saw that her son had opened his eyes. Although he was like a pig rolling in the mud, he was alive and not waiting for her motionless there. Come on, Wang Haiping's heart suddenly relaxed, and she felt as if her legs had been filled with vinegar. The soles of her feet went soft, and she sat down on the ground and cried loudly. Everyone understood her feelings and advised her one after another, "I'm alive, I'm saved, please stop crying." Yes, you have to watch your children carefully in the future. How can you let children play alone in such a high river? What a blessing, Zioxiu is at home. The main reason is that I arrived in time. Guancheng is also at home. When we arrived last year, Wang Qinjun's little coquettish girl died and couldn't be saved. After Wang Haiping cried after hearing this, she crawled to her son and stretched out her hand to hit him. You stinky boy, how many times have I told you, don't go to the river, don't go to the river, why don't you obey? Why don't you obey? Wang Haiping cried so hard that she couldn't breathe. Guess. Wang Dachun stopped her. Haiping, don't beat him. When he recovers, you can beat him however you want. Wang Haiping listened and put down his hand. Thank you, brother. If you hadn't found this kid and fished him out, I wouldn't have been able to find him anywhere. Wang Haiping was covered in mud and her face was muddy. Tears streaked across her face, washing away the 2 traces of dirt. Thank you Xiaoxiu, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming in time and saving his little life. Guancheng followed Feng Qingxiu and had already listened to the crowd explaining the location where Wang Xiaoguang was rescued. Everyone knows that fishing in the upper reaches will be fruitful, but they all live near the lower reaches. They usually catch fish in the middle reaches because it is close to home and the water is gentle, which is suitable for setting fish baskets. They wait until the rain stops and then go there in 2s and 3s. Walking up, Wang Dachun was ahead. As soon as he entered the water, he saw Wang Xiaoguang who was blocked by rocks. No one knows when Wang Xiaoguang came or when he fell into the water. While Wang Dachun was rescuing his nephew, he asked someone to find Feng Qingxiu. The person looking for Feng Qingxiu happened to meet Wang Haiping who was looking for his son on the road. In the end, Wang Haiping ran desperately to find her husband's cousin. Eager to save her son, Wang Haiping ran faster than ever. Fortunately, she left quickly and Feng Qingxiu came quickly, barely saving Wang Xiaoguang's life. Second cousin, you have to thank Zibao. Guancheng couldn't help but said, we piled those rocks. Our family came upstream to catch fish a long time ago, so we piled some rocks to intercept the swimming fish and only left one. We were going to open the gap for the net when we left. Zibao wouldn't let us open it. If it hadn't been for the stone to stop it, Xiaoguang would have been swept underneath. How could there be a chance of being discovered by Wang Dachun? Wang Haiping was stunned and nodded desperately, yes, yes, I have to thank Zibao, I have to thank him. Their thanks were particularly sincere. In the evening, Wang Haiping, Wang Zhenkuo and Wang Daxia came over in person, carrying 2 bastards and 2 snake-head fish that Wang Daxia had caught today, and a basket of chicken, duck and goose eggs that he had saved at home. I didn't have enough, so I went to my brother's house to get some to fill up the basket. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1290. Rains have been frequent this summer and reservoirs have continued to rise. Even if Wang Xiaoguang fell into the water and almost drowned, it could not stop everyone's enthusiasm for catching fish. Who wouldn't cherish the rare opportunity to have a dental ceremony? After mending the nylon net, Guancheng, Lu Tianzi, and Guanyu brothers went into the water when they had free time, before everyone caught fish in the morning or after finishing work in the evening. There were just too many people catching fish, and the harvest was not as big as the initial harvest. However, with the convenience of fishing nets, many big and small fish were caught one after another, and the whole courtyard was filled with a fishy smell. White water meal and small crucian carp have many small spines, which makes it inconvenient to eat. Feng Qingxiu wrapped them in batter and fried them in oil. The small fish became golden and crispy, and the elderly and children loved to eat them. Although I eat fish every day, no one feels tired of it. The fish that couldn't be kept alive couldn't be eaten that day, so Feng Qingxiu cleaned them and salted them in a jar, saving them for the next day. Even having fish to eat couldn't stop everyone's anxiety. The water was overflowing, the corn seedlings were flooded and turned yellow, and everyone was worried that the sweet potatoes would rot in the ground before they grew up. Only the rice fields were better. Wang Zhenqiu and the various captains arranged for people to dig trenches every day to drain the water accumulated in the ground. The rain is still continuing, but not as heavy. It was raining heavily and the room was very humid. Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but miss the life in the army. At least the living environment was very dry. Mom, Zhuang sat on her lap, touched her face with his little hand, and then moved forward to kiss her twice with his little mouth, his eyebrows curved. Mom, drink grandma. Zhuang was weaned off at 1 year and 2 months because Feng Qingxiu had no milk. Therefore, he is drinking milk powder now and has tried several flavors. In the end, he only drinks the most expensive imported milk powder in space. Feng Qingxiu prepared milk powder for him, and he held the bottle obediently, sat on the chair and drank slowly with his head raised. He looked really cute. Jojo, who had just walked in, immediately showed a bright smile. Jojo? Why do you have time to come here on a rainy day? Read more books at home when you have time, Feng Qingxiu said while greeting him. Jojo pursed his lips and said, there is no college entrance examination now. Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly. Who said that studying is for the college entrance examination? Studying is for understanding. You are still young. Believe me, you are right to read more books. You are only 15 years old, you shouldn't have gone to high school, right? Jojo nodded slightly. I just graduated from junior high school. It was pitiful that he had to go to the countryside after graduating from junior high school. I heard from Wang Zhenqiu that other educated youths would send letters and packages to their families more or less. Xinyushan, including Xinyushan, received money and tickets from his brother. Only Jojo did not confiscate them once. To the warmth from home. Feng Qingxiu sighed slightly and said, I will find some high school textbooks for you later, and you can study by yourself during the slack time. Didn't the old leader say that? Don't fight unprepared battles. You are all still young, and you are so young. There are millions of children across the country who have terminated their studies. Who knows whether the country will have other arrangements for you in the future? Really, Jojo's heart moved and his watery eyes widened. Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but admire her. She had a pair of particularly beautiful eyes, very soft. They looked like they were holding a pool of autumn water all the time. She blinked and glanced around, but there were no tears, which were better than tears. Young people are the future of the motherland. How come the country doesn't make arrangements? Study hard and you won't regret it. After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, Jojo said happily, thank you, Comrade Qingxiu, I will study hard with Huiwei. She is a high school student. If I encounter someone I don't understand, I can ask her for advice.